Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Expansion Podcast. I'm here with my good friend, Luna Lauren, also known as Luna Chi. She is a workshop facilitator, keynote speaker, and liberation activator dedicated to presence, healing, and self expression. She's trained hundreds of professionals across industries while also facilitating somatic emotional release workshops and other self love themed experiences worldwide. I'm truly honored to be here with you on this rainy day in Miami with the thunder and the lightning behind us at my home. And I'm really grateful to have this conversation here, especially after you just got back from Burning Man. So I'd love to bring all of that into this conversation today. And this is our second episode of the podcast. The first episode, I spoke a lot about moving through shame, moving through fear, moving through guilt, and kind of how that impacted me and my life and how that brought me into the work that I do and being like my fullest, most expressed self and continuing to expand in that way.
Mm.
I wanted to bring you on and talk about a little bit of like what happens after that? What happens once we move through those layers? Who are we and how do we bring that into our daily lives off the dance floor? And how does that impact you as an artist, the facilitator, and with the trainings that you do? And I'd also love to touch on the point of spirituality through dance and how we can like really enter these deeper trance-like states through dance and the flow state and how does that impact us as well. So
Mm.
please share a bit about who you are and what you do and a bit about that as well too.
Thank you so much, Jenergy. I'm so excited to be here with you and most importantly, talking about like
Yeah.
this exact topic because now more than ever, it is critical, essential to be dropping into our bodies. How often can we drop out of our head into our bodies? And similar to your journey as well and what you shared, growing up in the creative space or knowing even what the industry is. As a dancer, as an artist of any kind, there's so many false narratives and expectations on what it means to create, on what it means to express ourselves. And so, this right here to me is like a standing declaration and a rebellion of taking back the freedom of our artistry.
Yeah.
And growing up as a kid performer, like I was very quickly on cameras, very quickly taught to wear these masks and put on these frames and fit into these cookie cutter boxes of anything that I did. And I always felt a little bit constricted, distorted. My energy was a little bit blocked from being able to really fully embody what's authentic and what's true. And so through ecstatic dance, through free flow dance, I began step by step taking that journey to start reclaiming and re-owning what it means to actually be true in my body. So I'm really excited to be here.
Yeah. So that's amazing. I didn't even know that about your child self. Well, we got the thunder here.
Thank
So
you, mama.
yes, to the waters that are flowing through this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to know a little bit. So when I say like trance dance or
Mm.
dance trance, like what comes up for you in that? And how has entering a trance-like state through dance impacted you and how does it connected you deeper to your spirituality?
When I hear that word, I hear out of the mind, out of the thoughts, fully into the body. Our minds are constantly cycling past and future, right? We're reflecting what we've done. We're thinking about what we're going to do next, and we're getting ready to show up in the next thing. And we're constantly cycling in our minds, and we're actually taught to operate from the mind. I don't know about you, but like that's a common program in schools. Like always be thinking one step ahead,
Right.
look over your shoulder. What's the right move? And we're not being taught to actually drop out of that and go into the flow state. The trance and the flow state to me are very similar experiences. And so it's giving my mind a rest to say, hey, let's not be in the driver's seat in my mind for once. Let's give you a little break, brain, and let's allow the body to be the wisdom. Let's allow the ancient wisdom and intelligence to come through my body so that I can enter that trance-like
Yeah.
state. Yeah.
I love that. And I know you're an amazing dance performer and
Mm.
singer, songwriter, musical artist. So tell us a little bit about that. And I know you play a lot with the light whip. So how does that come into play as well?
Whew, that's a good loaded question because yeah, I'd say I had about 15 years worth of being heavily in the entertainment industry. My dad is a professional singer. He's been singing Motown his whole life. He's only ever done his art form. And my mom is also a creative, an artist, and a painter, but she chose corporate work over her art. And so I was performing on Second City stages as a child. I was on a billboard before I could walk, doing like modeling gigs, acting gigs. And so I was learning this form of like creativity that actually carried a lot of anxiety, a lot of performance anxiety and expectation of auditions. Yes or no? Are you good enough or not? Do you hit the cut or not? And I didn't realize how disassociated I was from my own natural expression because it didn't feel safe to do that. As artists in the industry, it doesn't always feel safe to just show up as I am, like come as you are. No, it's fit the box so that you can get this audition and be on a stage and be in front of people. So I learned very early on how to shapeshift, how to wear the right mask to grow and to survive and to be successful. And when I picked up the light whip, it was because I was coming out of a really dark time in my life. I was getting out of a marriage divorce. I got married very young out of religious upbringing. I danced in the church. I was heavily, heavily in ministry. And so the expectation was if you don't want shame, get married and do this and follow this path. And when I broke that and I jumped out of that space, I was completely disconnected from my art. I went through about a good 8-year hiatus of not dancing at all. Like no movement, no creativity, just working the corporate life because it didn't feel safe. I had gotten so many no's and so much rejection and so much expectation pounded on top of my art form and my creativity that I'm like, I'm just not going to do this at all. And so the light whip came into play because it was something that's done in the dark. I was living in my own place after getting out of this like lifestyle that felt very toxic for me. And the light whip was this toy. Literally, a friend's like, you should try dancing with this. And when I danced with it in the dark, all of the performance expectation just completely went away. It didn't matter what my face looked like. It didn't matter how my technique was and if I had been taking enough classes to hit my moves hard enough. All that mattered was the light. All that mattered was my own unique flow and what felt good in the trance like state that the light whip would bring me into. Because you can't really see when you're dancing with the light. It's dark and there's lights going all over your body. So the light whip started teaching me how to be the light in the dark and how to completely rewire what it meant to express myself. It was huge.
Wow, that's profound. There's so many like hidden gems in there too. The like the shadows being the dark, really bringing the light
Yeah.
at a really dark time of your life. And what do you have any advice for people that if they're going through a dark time right now, how they can utilize dance to really move through that?
Yeah. Like the first step is to eliminate the story that you're not a dancer. Any person that has ever been told that you are not a dancer or you don't measure up to that expectation, like step one is remove that entirely. Delete that out of your book. Control Alt Delete is actually one of my favorite sayings that a friend taught me. If you're ever like walking into path and you're like, I need to kind of redo this, just Control Alt Delete and go right back into it. Yeah. So releasing the performance aspect
Yeah.
of dancing is like step one. And I feel that a lot during expansion and the ecstatic dances that you hold. It's like we're creating a safe space for people to just feel into their body.
Yeah.
It's not meant to look a certain way. Like right now, I'm moving my arm, but I'm not like really aware or conscious of how I'm moving it. I'm just moving it in a way that feels good.
Yeah.
And so that really is the practice. And over time, we can drop more and more into our bodies and take up even more space in what that movement looks like.
Mm, powerful. And I love it. You've been talking a lot about safety in this, and I want to speak about that because that's such an important point and kind of brings up something that I actually experienced last night. So, one of the ways that I went to prepare for this podcast was to go out and dance late at night and just be in that trance like state. There was a really great DJ playing nearby. So, I was like, okay, perfect. I'll go wake up refreshed, prepared for this. And while it wasn't an ecstatic dance, so there wasn't these specific safety measures in place, I was in my trance like state and I started to feel like, oh, someone's energy is trying to like kind of encroach on me. And while I was in this little corner, there wasn't anyone behind me. So I was in like a really good spot. But unfortunately, my roommate, who just left right now, but she unfortunately, her ass got grabbed
Mhm.
while she's in that, and it was so disturbing that she felt so violated. She ended up leaving because she felt like it was no longer a safe space for her to express. So I'd love to talk about that and your experiences going out to dancing in a place or a club, as opposed to being at an ecstatic dance experience where we have an opening circle. Like at my events, we do have an opening circle where we talk about consent and to create that safe space. So making sure that if you want to dance with someone, that's great. Yes, we encourage that, but make sure that they want to dance with you and find a good way to gain consent, as opposed to someone just coming up behind you and starting to dance without you even knowing. It's very startling. Or even worse, someone literally just grabbing your ass. So
Wow.
yeah, I'd love to for you to speak about that and the importance of it and any experience that you might have had in that realm.
Yeah. So one of the like most beautiful things that I believe ecstatic dances hold and like more conscious dance spaces hold is that there's so much more consent culture.
Yeah.
There's so much more awareness of like how to stay within our own boundaries of our space. The agreements of ecstatic dances and conscious dances are what? Like no talking if you're on the dance floor, right? Save the conversations for outside of the space. So for one, we're creating this sacred ceremonial container when we're stepping into conscious dance spaces or any ceremonial space that involves expression as a whole. There's this container, this field that's set around the space that then provides this level of safety to be able to really drop in and to know that I can be here. I know that my nervous system feels regulated here. I know that I can be in my body and say yes and be empowered in my no. And so, if only more club spaces and nightlife spaces had these things, it would be an incredibly different experience for what your roommate went
Yeah.
through and what a lot of people experience. A lot of women who step on dance floors and we're not sure, can I really dance the way I want to dance without attracting an attention that I don't want?
Yeah.
And so, for one, the way that the spaces are set up are everything. And the more that we can bring more consciousness and simply even more consent culture as a whole to these dance floors will change the game. But it also connects to like, what's the intention of why we're here?
Yeah.
Right? A lot of nightlife spaces in Miami and wherever you go, it's like the focus is drinking, or the focus might be to socialize or to receive validation or get attention in certain ways. And that has been done historically for so many years. And so it really is an act of sacred rebellion that is happening here and what we're talking about. And it's still growing. Like we're still raising this up, but
Yeah.
there are environments that it might not feel as safe to do that. So I'm the person that if I am in a club or if I'm in more of like a generic dance space, I go and like I find my corner, or I find my space that's not really around everyone, and then I'm just completely inward doing
Yeah.
my work, which is also play. I'm healing myself. I'm moving stuck energy in my body.
Yeah.
Before I came here to you today, I was feeling like I was carrying a lot of weight on my shoulders. There's a lot of familial weight and weight of the world and things that are really weighing down on a lot of us. And so the dance then becomes an antidote. It then becomes a formula and a modality to drop us back into presence, because that's the key. If whoever the guy was that broke the boundary, right, of your roommate actually was dropped into presence of full integrity of like, I'm in my own experience, that wouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
He was focused outward. He was
Yeah.
focused on what do I need? And this is the whole practice of like, you don't have to reach outward to source your wholeness and to source the love and the things that you're worthy of having.
Yeah. If only more people at the nightclubs, felt this
That
and hear
part.
this. That's hopefully the goal of this
Soon,
podcast.
soon.
Share those, please.
We're headed there.
Yeah, because it's like we all want to go out. We don't want to rely on the once or twice a month ecstatic dances that happen, or
Mhm.
want to be able to just like, okay, cool, I want to go out, but I want to feel safe. Because I was thinking like, okay, how could I, go out? What kind of safety measures could I put in? Because I still want to go to these clubs and places that have great music and
Yeah.
great vibe, and maybe it's like a plant medicine journey with my friends to go even deeper in that. And it's been such a deep spiritual practice,
Yeah.
with or without medicine, to dance in that trance-like state. And I was thinking like, okay, having a group, like really intentional group, like you go out with like an intentional group of people that are kind of aware of these things that might happen with people that aren't, so embodied and in their center, to have these kind of like protectors around.
Yeah.
And the importance of like the masculine energy. Cause if like,
Hmm.
we were there with like maybe a few more guys. I had one guy who was with me and the DJ's partner also. We're kind of in like some different spaces, but who we were really intentional with it. Like I actually wanted to all meet up beforehand and kind of have like a little intention setting as we go into the club and really radiate that light. Cause I know that when we are in this space and we're dancing so freely, we're moving energy.
Yeah.
And when we recognize unity and oneness, like we recognize that we're all one, we're all moving through this together. So when I start releasing, like it's gonna start moving things in everyone around too.
Hmm.
And that can trigger self and the ego.
Yeah.
And so I feel like that's kind of what happened last night, where my roommate was so like present in her dance and so embodied in her sensuality that it really triggered something of like, oh, I need to go reach for that. And we literally did.
Hmm.
And she didn't even get to figure out who it was. Like that happens for me. I try to like confront the person and actually, speak about boundaries and consent and do something rather than just be like pissed and walk away. But she couldn't even figure it out because it was dark. The guy moved around. There were so many people around. We didn't even really know. And I was in such a trance myself. I didn't even know what happened until this morning. And so I was like, okay, like these safety measures putting into place of having people around and really anchoring in that light of protection through love,
Yeah.
that can create that safe space and even be able to communicate with people. And I know I've spoken with this club about that before, and they were like, we always have people downstairs. You can always come to us. We'll remove the person. We'll speak with them.
Hmm.
But I was hoping that they would maybe put up a sign or something too that people had to read when they go in.
Hmm.
They're kind of afraid that it might deter people. I get it, but like at the same time, what are our priorities, right? Like,
Yeah.
do we care more about that, or do we care more about the safety and presence of especially the women that are coming in?
Yeah.
If the women don't feel safe to come in, the guys aren't even gonna want to be there if it's only men.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's true. And I think it's really important to remember that if we zoom out to the broad scheme of things, if we zoom out to the collective and the different levels of awareness that our collective is at, there's a few of us that are in a whole different realm. Like we're operating on a frequency that most of the pop culture collective, the nightlife collective, has no clue. And so this concept of like being the light in the dark, for me with the light whips, but even for your roommate, for you, for all conscious like light workers of any kind that are taking this path of saying like more authenticity, more embodiment, more consent, more grounded boundaries, we kind of have to remember that we are the lighthouse. So in darker times, we're shining our light brighter. Therefore, we're also attracting all different frequencies and energies that don't have that light that want to activate that light within themselves, and it really helps me to, as best as I can, like remove the bias and zoom out a little bit and say, wow, there's a lot of people that are still really empty, really hurting, really grieving and feeling that like
yeah,
lack of love, lack of these things. And so it's also understandable as to someone who has so much love for someone who doesn't have that to be almost thirsty and craving that. And this doesn't justify ill action whatsoever, but it's a nice awareness and things that we can keep talking about and putting this on the table so that more people can start to begin to shift
yeah,
one step at a time, and the first step is like honor the boundaries, honor my boundaries. And in ecstatic dances and in expansion, like that is such a core value of every single person is in their own experience. And who am I to even assume that I understand what someone else might be going through as they're on the dance floor? I've been on the dance floor in tears and crying. I've been shaking on the ground, and people might look at me that don't know me and say, whoa, like, what is she going through? What did she take? Right. And so there's
yeah,
also this aspect of like releasing the people pleasing,
yeah,
which has been so healing for me in my art form, because the people pleasing as we're children, it's such a means of survival.
yeah,
It's not a thing that's done intentionally.
yeah,
It's something I love so much about you is when I go out dancing with you, like you are someone that it is just like, fuck, like it doesn't matter who's looking, what you're doing, like you're in your heart, you're in your body, and that's ripple affecting medicine to every single person that's receiving it, whether they're aware of it
yeah.
or not.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was this dance.
The dance of the dance of the dance.
Constant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The dancer and the dance are one. It's
Mm.
one of my favorite quotes. And I love this framework that you're giving. This is all like unity consciousness, like framework topics where we're like, okay, not judging that person and like condemning them, taking them out of our heart. We're like, okay, they're still in our heart. I get to welcome them in, have compassion, but also see it from a higher perspective of like, okay, I see where they're at. I see their struggles, what they must be working through in some way. Obviously, we don't know the exact,
Yeah.
what their past has been, but like, okay, having compassion for that because they're also us too. And that's kind of one of those bigger topics that gets a little bit harder when it's like people that have done really bad things to others. We think, oh, how can I love them? It's like that doesn't loving someone doesn't mean that you accept what they do, that you like what they do, that you approve of what they do. It's like, okay, you forgive because they're at a level of ignorance that is just on such a different frequency than when we're operating at and have
Yeah.
compassion. So I
Yeah.
love that you spoke to that. And what you said about lack, I think that was great too. And one of my teachers, Aaron Abke, I learned so much from him. Super grateful. He just came out with this book, The Three Beliefs of Ego. And I'm going, his book launched in like a few days on Monday. I'm so excited. He speaks about like one of the beliefs of ego being the belief in lack. And that being what keeps us in a state of separation, it keeps us in our consciousness in a state of separation. Because if we believe that we are lacking, that we are somehow missing something from ourselves or from others, that we need to reach out again, that reaching out to find that love, to find that sense of connection, that we disconnect from our divinity that's always there. We disconnect. It's not like it disconnects us entirely, but that it removes us from being conscious of that.
Mhm.
Yeah, I love what you said there.
Huge. Yeah. Beautifully said, sister.
Aw.
Period. Period. Mic drop.
So I know that you have a collective called Sacral Uproar. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah. So Sacral Uproar was founded from a lot of my own journey, growing up in like the corporate professional world, growing up as a born artist, as a child, as so many of us are. Every single child is a creator. We are all children at some point. Therefore, we are creators, we are artists. And along the way, we start to program ourselves and start to remove core aspects of our being, the source in which we create with to begin with, out of a means of acceptance, out of a means of belief systems that are programmed into us from our parents, from our loved ones, from our surroundings, and we get disconnected from our art. And so Sacral Uproar is a collective for artists that are either suppressed and not creating or inspiring to create more. And it's a handheld mentorship, step by step, to help people unlock what is your own embodied version of your expression. And so as a manifesting generator in my human design and also the sacral chakra, there's 3 different pathways in Sacral Uproar. So people can choose. Do I want to be more embodied in the way that I communicate? Am I a leader that wants to learn how to speak from more of a heart-led channeled space? Or maybe I want to drop back into my sexuality and my sacred sensuality and learn how to reconnect to the pleasure of life in my body. And then the other one is the mind alchemist, where we're learning how to rewire our relationship to our thoughts, reconnecting with the inner child so that we can then choose a path that is exciting and fulfilling. So whether you're a corporate professional working your 9 to 5 or you're an aspiring artist, regardless, you have that connection to your sacral chakra. Therefore, you can be a clear channel of that energy to come through in whatever way that makes sense to you. Universally receptive work. The sacral chakra is the core of our creativity. As you know, it's the core of our sexuality, and it's the core of our ability to actually live presently, to really soak in the senses and the sensations of what's happening in our lives. And I know many people that live 30, 40, 50, 60 years, never really fully connecting to that part of themselves. Yeah. So it's a program that is destined to help people reconnect to the core of who they are.
I love that. That's so powerful. Could you tell us maybe a few practices or things that you would do? Obviously, don't give us all the whole, you're all the work that you do, but just something to kind of show people how they could maybe tap into that later
Yeah.
on.
Yeah. So a little nugget that I'll share with you now is that the way to access the sacral is through the mind. This method of going through the thoughts through the crown chakra is essential because our limiting belief systems are actually the reason that we are not able to feel our sacral. So if we're disconnected from here to here and we're not speaking our truth, we're not thinking our authentic thoughts, we're still thinking things that were planted into us, maybe at childhood, that are not even ours, how do we expect to reach the core of our creative expression?
Yeah.
And so, through each of the three pathways in sacral uproar, they all start with going through the mind, the psyche, the subconscious. So, there's a lot of rewiring methodologies that are taught on how to start becoming more aware of who's up here, because we have so many different versions of ourselves that exist. And I used to think I was crazy for that. I used to think like, man, I got a lot of different personalities in here.
Yeah.
And I've never fit into just one label of anything because I was never meant to. We are multidimensional beings. And so if we can start to harmonize and have a healthier relationship with the voice inside of our head,
Yeah.
then we can start to create a clear channel to reach the sacral more efficiently.
Yeah.
So it all starts with the mind. It all starts with the relationship to our thoughts and that voice inside of our head that no one really talks about, but we all have it.
Yeah. 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 It goes, there's so many different ways we can like kind of go out, branch out from that. But I love, it kind of reminds me of like parts work too, of like seeing the different, like the projector part, the nurturer, and seeing how we have all these different parts inside of us and having a conversation with them, seeing like, okay, which ones are from my limited self, maybe a projector that's, developed because I had some trauma when I was younger and I felt like I needed to, wall up to protect that really deep innocent part that's also like really soft and sensitive that often gets suppressed, especially when we're in very masculine societies. It's all about do and like just kind of pushing through. And it's not like there's anything wrong with masculine. We need both masculine and feminine. But when it's out of balance, then that's where we see out of balance planet. We see the planet that's being destroyed, the planet that has wars, people fighting, and it just comes from out of balance of these energies. And we can kind of like start to tune into ourselves and see, oh, where am I just out of balance in my own masculine, feminine energy? Where are certain parts overactive and underactive? And how can I start to have like a dialogue with these so that I can remove some of those limiting beliefs and come back into just my truth, the pure innocent child that was born that didn't have any of these programs or stories from this life that is just so sweet. Like we look at like young children, they're just like so pure, loving, right? They're not like, oh wait, no, I can't express this because I'm afraid and holding back and having those blocks in some of these energy centers. And so I think this is a great framework to kind of look at that and move through and like you said, rewire it.
Yeah.
So that's really
Yeah.
powerful work. And how I love that how you're connecting that to the body, the sacral, and then I'm sure expression and dance and everything come through that as well.
Yeah.
Because if we're holding those beliefs and those stories in our minds, that's just going to block the physical.
Yeah.
And so many times we think of, that it just has to be one way or the other. Like, okay, just working on the mind or just working on the body. And again, like going back to my teacher, Aaron Apke, he talks about the masculine and feminine forms of healing. And I like this comparison or like this analogy that he said. The masculine form of healing is kind of like rewiring the mental thoughts and programs. So actually shifting off the faucet, and the feminine is like the faucet, like flowing. And you need that faucet to flow and release all that stuck energy, the trauma, the emotions. But if you never turn off the faucet, it's just going to always keep running. You're going to constantly release it. You're going to constantly be in the feminine. When you have both, you release it with the feminine, you turn off the faucet, then you have that like closed loop, and then you're actually very integrated from that point. But it really takes both. So I love that you're really integrating both of those ways in your work.
Huge. And you're speaking on an era that I like to call integral consciousness. We've already done the love and light, love and light, love and light, right? Focus on the light, even in religion and things like this, where we're completely rejecting the dark or the masculine or whatever it is it might be. And integral consciousness is saying that no, like separation is really the biggest illusion that there is. And being able to come to this space of yin and yang, light and dark, masculine and feminine. And how do we balance and create a healthy relationship with all of the aspects of ourself. Sacral Uproar is very much a creative spin on parts work, like nail on the head, because I had emotions in different parts of myself that I was just refusing to look at. And that's where the emotional release work came into my life. Like when I was living a life that wasn't really mine, I experienced emotional release work for the first time. And I thought I was going to a yoga dance class. Like I had no clue what I was walking into. I was living in LA and I'm like, okay, I should go do something, looking on the conscious websites. And I find this class that I show up with my yoga mat. And when I get there, there's this powerful, powerful woman that says, you are about to feel all of your emotions together in this group totally. And then you're going to come back to your center, but you're going to feel your anger. You're going to feel your grief, your sadness, your forgiveness. And then we're going to fill you back up again. You're going to tantrum. You're going to rage out like a child. And I wanted to run to the door and crawl out. I'm like, wait, what? I didn't sign up for this. But something said like I'm meant to be here. And then the empathic side of me, right? With this is a total bypass, but it's a very common thing to call out and call up. But I'm like, you want me to be in a room with a bunch of people raging their anger? I don't want to take on that. And now I look back and I knew that I'm like, I don't want to take on my own anger because I was afraid of my own power. I was afraid of what was on the other side of that. But this facilitator looks at me and says, sister, there is so much more of your power to be reclaimed when you can get on the offensive side of your empathic abilities rather than be on the defensive side all the time of your empathic abilities.
So good.
I know. And I
What
looked fun.
response?
I looked back. I'm like, wow, I have been living in this defensive victim mindset for a very long time because I needed to survive. And when I dropped into my emotions, even though it was scary, even though it shook everything in my body, felt like, I'm like, am I going to die right now? It was that intense. On the other side of it, I reclaimed so much of my creative force. My anger actually held my creative fire. That they're one and the same. I just needed a healthy outlet to express these things.
Yeah.
So if more people can have healthy outlets to express their rage, express their anger, to have a tantrum like when they were a kid, imagine how much violence would be completely avoided because we're giving ourselves that practice on a regular basis.
Yeah. Yeah, it just goes back to like releasing that which is inside of us that often just gets triggered and then lashes out, and we see all of these terrible things happening.
Yeah.
And imagine if like schools were coaching, had like inspirational talks to the students on how to release these emotions and not keep them inside in a healthy way. Imagine what a world we would live in just from that, from a young age, middle school and high school. That would be any elementary school.
Yeah.
And I think that would be so profound. I was actually my physical therapist the other day. I just recently had knee surgery and been deep in my whole physical realignment. The past 8 years have been a journey of going through the emotions, and now it's like, okay, time to really heal this. And what's been coming up was the other day. There's been some recent tragedies in our collective, and, they're talking about, okay, we need to have more protection, more security guards, more of this and that. I'm like, well, what about if we just actually get it from the root and we start coaching these people, these students? We have people going into schools that are actually sharing about these practices, that maybe even doing embodiment work instead of just being in the mind all day at school, like you said, about we're actually going in and healing it from the root. Like that would be such a different world that we live in. So I'm thinking like, okay, how can I go into schools and all of this?
Yeah.
And at the same time, it's like getting more and more dangerous, unfortunately, to speak our truth. And that's the sad part where, unfortunately, there was just a huge shooting with a guy that was speaking his truth. And it's like, okay, do we need to have like a bulletproof glass in front of everyone in order for people to speak and feel safe now? Like it's sad what it's like coming to, but it's necessary to prevent these from continuously happening. Like if we don't get these things at the root, they're just going to keep happening and magnifying and getting worse, amplify, because we live in such a world. And with social media, like, yeah, it's great for so many things, like being able to share conversations like this. But then we have teenagers and even elementary students that are looking online and seeing, like, comparing themselves and developing these major insecurities from a young age. And while I was thankful to not grow up with that my whole life, but it still was there when I was in high school. And I remember when MySpace came out and everyone's sharing their stories of being in parties and stuff, and all the cool kids were,
Mhm.
drinking and having really fun experiences. And I wasn't really allowed to go out and do that. I was very sheltered, which has its, good and bad as well. Um, I remember like developing this major insecurity and unworthiness like wound because I was always in that comparison mindset. And I can't even imagine kids at even younger age having that and what that's doing to their brains and kind of being at the root of some of these things that we're seeing on the planet right now.
Yeah, yeah. And there's two really powerful things that you said that I want to touch on. And first off, like if you're a leader listening to this in any way, if you're someone that is trailblazing like you are, how we are, new movements and ways of thinking, feeling, being, operating that goes completely against the system as it is, the best advice I just got from a friend yesterday of battling the fear within myself of like, how do I do this? Like, how do I do this when I'm looking around and there's all this hatred and things happening? She said, if you are always coming from a true, authentic, pure space of love, not the cliche, stereotypical, oversaturated love and light, but actually profound, grounded love. Like I see the highest version of every single person here, no separation, and we stay in that frequency of love, it will completely diminish any other lower frequency. Love is the most powerful frequency that there is, whether someone believes it or not. Like the truth is that when we are grounded in the love and the vision of what we are creating, and we don't create space for the doubt to creep in, we're safe.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite sayings right now is be afraid and do it anyways,
Yeah.
because there are these prior versions of ourself and these collective feelings of, oh, I'm scared to do this, it's out of my comfort zone, it's a little out of my space. Even in ecstatic dance, it can feel scary for someone who has never done this before. Be afraid and do it anyways, because that is the most effective, powerful way to completely rewire your relationship with fear.
Mhm.
And when we can rewire our relationship with fear, we are then casting out this field of protection around us, which then supports anyone that's walking in our space. If they're not in that space of love, they're going to completely turn the other way. So it's a protection source, but it also is asking us to be really grounded in the truth of it all. Like the world is ready for a different form of what it means to be love. And it means being able to ground and relate and to understand and to hold awareness that in these school systems, it's not just the children that we need to work with and teach these regulation tools, it's their parents. It's literally what households, what environments are we raising our children in these future generations, which, by the way, they are highly empathic. They are highly attuned. They are highly informed on what's happening around them, right? So, how can we give tool belts for both the kids and the parents to start being more aware and conscious and regulating their nervous systems in ways that they can show up fully?
Mhm.
Like, no part of you is wrong. No part of you is ugly. No part of you is dirty. No part of you should be casted out for any reason. And shame and exile and abandonment, these are the reasons people resort to violence.
Yeah.
When they're so bottled up in their anger and feeling rejection and neglection and pain, that is where we pop and we resort to violence. And so when I'm teaching emotional release workshops and we're doing the inner child tantrum, your favorite part because you love the word tantrum, I always say, this is from Osho. This is a quote that if you give yourself a safe space to go crazy, you never have to fear going crazy.
Right.
And I used to be terrified that what if I just lose my mind? Like, what if I am not in control of myself? Then what? But then when we're giving ourselves healthy spaces to do this, you never have to be concerned about that because we're always aware. I'm choosing to go in and then I'm choosing to come back to my center. I'm choosing to grieve and cry and feel rage, and then I'm choosing to come back to my center. We are not our emotions. Our emotions are lights and gifts and tools and keys to walk us back home to ourselves.
I love that. There's so many points there. And it's really profound because what you were saying about love and basically love is our protection. That's literally what I wrote on my Instagram this morning before we got on here. Well, speaking about current events and everything. And that's something I say all the time. It's like love is our protection. As much as we want to put up all these walls, like I think I need like a bulletproof glass in order to speak. It's like, oh, okay, love is our protection and really trusting in that. And that goes infinite layers deep. And that's yeah, really cool that you just said that right now. And yeah, about the tantrum, it's like we always like, we hear that word. I feel like that's a really loaded word and brings up a lot for us. And it's like kids were, we're having these tantrums as a child because we needed to somewhere to release that. Like it's like a natural response to whatever pain that is being carried that needs that outlet. And oh, well, before we get to that age where we start kind of becoming self-aware, it usually just happens. And then, parents usually get upset wanting the child to lash out.
Hmm.
But it's like, okay, let's look at why they're doing that and give them a safe space so that it doesn't continue to get bottled up inside and come out in really dangerous ways.
Exactly.
So really, really powerful. And yeah, my parents were always like, "Stop with your temper tantrums." And I feel like, "How can I temper tantrum about my temper tantrums?" And all that. I'm like, "Okay, well, now it's like, let's have a conscious tantrum where we can choose to powerfully go into that, to not shy away from these emotions and really move them in a healthy way that allows for that to be released, whatever word you want to call it, and see like who we are after that. It's like those all of these come into expanding ourselves and why I love to use that word for my events, for this podcast, because it touches on everything. We can always expand deeper. And we've had so much that we've had to work through collectively, ancestrally, and just through our schools, through our families, and everyone's just doing the best that they can. And yeah, parents also need to go into that and kind of look at that. And I know that it's hard because it takes up a lot of time. They need to take care of their kids, make money. It's a lot harder for certain people. Don't have so much time. Like I'm already like I don't have any children. I'm just here taking care of a little cute kitty, and myself. I can't even imagine having one, two, three, four kids and a job and preparing for all the food, all the cooking that comes in. So I have a lot of compassion for that. And it's so necessary in society. It's like now more than ever, really.
Yeah, and it's important to bring awareness into the fact that the parents that are maybe not modeling like the healthiest emotional regulation, like my parents are incredible parents. Like I love them so much. And there was a lot of, toxic positivity in the household because their parents didn't model a healthy way to be when you're not positive, like to be in the negativity, to be in the emotions of what's not pretty and what's not so loving and so welcoming all the time. And so there's this ancestral pass down that have maybe for hundreds of years been happening. And this is it's new.
Yeah.
And it's ancient. To me, it's the core of what we've always known of like having a healthy relationship to our emotions and to our regulation. But we have to remember, we're here to remember, oh, it's actually okay for me to feel what's real, even if it feels a little scary or it might push people away. It's starting to rewire the relationships we have to societal norms and what it means to feel accepted. And when we can start to kind of turn down the volume a little bit on what everyone else might think, then we can start to create space for what actually is true, what is authentic, and what is going to best serve me, my loved ones, my family, and my future generations to
Mhm.
come.
Mhm.
Period.
Mic drop.
Mike.
Another mic drop.
We've dropped 3 mics so far. Yeah.
Oh my God, so good. Thank you. And I love that you're going to be facilitating and DJing at one of our next ecstatic dances in a few weeks at Expansion. Can you tell us a little bit about what your set's going to be like? And your partner, Rome, is going to be featured there too. So you can tell us a little bit about how that is. I know that you also have a project with him called Infinite Heart.
Mhm.
That set isn't going to be exactly like that, but if you could tell us about Infinite Heart as well and why y'all do what you do
Yeah.
as a partnership as well.
Well, in the month of October, which is when we're doing the ecstatic dance with expansion, is heading up into Halloween. It's heading up into the Scorpio October season. And so there's a lot of ancestral liberation coming online this month. And so the theme that has inspired not only this set that we're going to share, but really just the whole month is actually recognizing that our ancestors are cheering us on. They are celebrating that we are doing things differently than we've ever done before. Even if you're taking a baby step in your life to try to do something different than what was taught or passed down to you, you're doing something powerful, beautiful. And so our ancestors are like, yes, keep going. Keep going, dive in, feel our magic, feel our power. Don't carry the pain anymore. Don't carry the grief and the shame and the worry and the doubt and the scarcity. Do something different. And so ancestral liberation is really the intention of what's guiding all creative expression in the month of October. So we'll have a form of, Afro house and a lot of electronic style music that is going to be very primal and drop us deep into the core of our ancestry, to drop us into the reconnection of our heartbeat. That's what I love about like drums or even electronic music. Like it's way deeper than the raves. We're actually in ceremony to reconnect with our own heartbeat. And in Infinite Heart, in my group with my partner, Larome, we call ourselves a ceremonial rave or a meditative rave because of the rewiring happening around what it means to actually be in what could feel like a party setting or like a club setting, but actually saying no, like I'm reclaiming all of me and I'm showing up as all of me, full force, full send, unapologetic expression. Let's go.
Let's go.
And that's really what Infinite Heart is. It's reminding you that your heart is infinite. Your heart is eternal. The lie and the illusion that you needed to reach outward for anyone or anything is false. You have everything that you need. So show up on the dance floor, feel supported by these beats and this rhythm as you reclaim all that you are. That's where we're going.
Thank you so much.
I'm so excited.
Oh,
thank you.
Thank you for being on this podcast today.
And thank you for creating and trailblazing the space, because if anyone's listening that's not from South Florida or Miami, like this didn't exist before. And what I know about you, Jenergy, is you have been trailblazing this path for years. And I can't even imagine the walls you faced, the hurdles you jumped, trailblazing a community that is still learning what it means to be free, free in the mind, mental freedom, emotional freedom, spiritual freedom in every way. So thank you for creating this space and calling in other light workers to join forces with you so that we can celebrate life and do this together.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's huge.
And I just love, like, when we met was when I was living in LA, and that's kind of what really started this all for me, like this journey. And I had a spiritual awakening when I was here in Florida, but then shortly after I moved out to Los Angeles and I started meeting my tribe of people. And that's when dance took on a really spiritual meaning for me. I went to one of my first transformational music festivals, like in a bottle. And that's where I was like, oh my gosh, life is a dance. The dancer and the dance are one. I'm here to support humanity and reawakening the dance, first within myself and then collectively. And that's how it led to this work. That's really incredible that now you're back and here in Florida. We're in the same place and getting to like work together in this way. It's so powerful. But I'm really grateful to bring some of that energy from the West Coast over here. A lot of people have moved out from LA now and, spread it out throughout the world. And I think that's amazing because we were like incubating over there for a while. And I was like, hey, we could spread it with the world. And I've kind of been on like the hero's journey, coming back to my hometown, Miami, and sharing this after so many years of traveling and going to different festivals and ceremonies and trainings all around the world. And then coming back here to Miami, where I'm from, and being like, okay, it's time to really share this in a space that really needs it. And I'm really grateful that you're on this podcast and that you're going to be sharing on October 3rd at Expansion in Miami. Our ecstatic event. I'm excited for Larome too. He's another incredible light worker, ceremonialist, powerful, divine masculine. So yeah, we'll have to bring him on the podcast at some point.
Oh, yeah.
Too.
He would love
really
to.
Excited for that.
He'll be throat singing his Tibetan sound. He's on the
Beautiful.
Let's do this.
You're amazing. Oh, how can we find more of you? Can you please share and help me find your music too. 'Cause you've got some great music out there.
Yeah, so Infinite Heart streaming music on all the platforms. If you just type in Infinite Heart, our logo is a red and black heart with an infinity logo in the middle. And our page is Infinite Heart with two eyes in the beginning on social media. And our website's infiniteheartland.com, very easy to find. And if you want to dive a little more in with me personally with creative mentorships, Sacral Uproar, activating your creative expression, you can visit my website at sacraluproar.com. And my Instagram is lightworkluna, which came from the light whips. That's literally how that brand started. And you can find all of the things that I'm doing there.
Oh, thank you. So good, so good. And I'm Jenergy, Jenergy Flow 108 on Instagram. And the event is Expansion Ecstatic Dance Miami. And my project is called Ecstatic Flow. So all of those on social media, and our website is ecstatic-flow.com. So we'll be doing more around the world, and I'm grateful to have this podcast here for you to be on it. Thank you so much. I'm excited to have you on October 3rd, and we'll be chatting more soon.
Yeah, and traveling schools together and sharing more of this work.